thank you all for being here. It's a wonderful, special weekend for all of us, I think. Whether you do anything special or wonderful on the weekend, you are just special and wonderful the way you show up. And I think that's pretty nifty, as my grandmother used to say. So we have been walking the talk and the walk, as I also like to say, these past few weeks, with Keys to the Kingdom, material by David Owen Ritz, and some of you are familiar with his material. And I'm bringing it to you based on our own transition process that we're going through right here at Community on the Hill, and I might add, doing a rather splendid job of it. I think you have warmed to the task. And so today we have to turn up the heat, as it were, in the warming process. We've been talking about abundance and what does it mean to be truly abundant in your life. And we spoke about different areas of life, 5 specifically, and there's an insert in your bulletin that lists those 5 areas of life that I've touched on a couple of weeks now. We talked about creating a higher level of awareness. We also co-created what it means to hold a vision for life. And then each of the weeks I've asked you to go home and contemplate answers to 4 questions that are beneath those 5 areas of life that's on the back of your announcement package. And each week those questions have changed based on the co-creative idea for a particular lesson. And so today's lesson is entitled, Let Go of the Past. And it is probably one of the greatest universal themes that we all have in achieving true abundance, trying to let go of the past and what that means and how to do it. Many of us don't realize the hold the past can have on us. It's energy, and it's energy that I'm going to also tie up with last week's lesson, which was the law of circulation. Last week I had kind of a playful time with you all, asking you if you'd go home and clean out a drawer or a closet. Remember we talked about how the universe abhors a vacuum? And if you just didn't really get with that whole law of circulation thing, would you suspend the whole disbelief and go home and clean out a drawer and see what comes of it? And some of you did, actually. I got a couple of emails that said, yeah, I did. I cleaned out the trunk of my car was one. And it was so freeing. I found things in there I didn't even know existed, that I had. And the law of circulation, one aspect of it is that it abhors a vacuum and it rushes to fill in. So I was tempting you with the idea of cleaning out a closet or a drawer or whatever, because I knew that if you could at least suspend your disbelief about that and try it, you would definitely find the law works. Whether you want it to work or don't want it to work, the law works. And so today we're going to do some of what I call the heavy lifting of the law of circulation, having to do with what are the thoughts and habits, particularly around our past, that we need to forgive. For it is in forgiveness that we release negative energy and allow for new possibilities to come in. And a lot of us, myself included, this is heavy lifting because some of us don't even know or think we have anything to forgive. And frankly, I don't think I've met anybody in my lifetime that doesn't have something, somehow, somewhere to forgive. And so the work becomes forgiveness 24/7. Forgiveness is not a one-time deal. Forgiveness doesn't just happen. Nor, my friends, do we need another participating person in order to have forgiveness. Forgiveness is something we do for ourselves. And forgiveness is the big how-to. Release negative energy that may be standing in our way in order that the law of circulation can bring in greater possibilities. And what happens is this negative energy shows up, usually, or at least in this material, and I like this material, and I do believe this, in 4 ways: regret, judgment, guilt, and resentment. And resentment itself is the opposite of forgiveness. When we're resenting someone or something or someone we have hurt, or in our own internal system, we are not in a state of forgiveness. We have got this negative energy of resentment. And For a lot of us, we can't simply get past it. We're not sure what to do to get past it. And the first thing we need to do is understand the way through, or to get through whatever is holding us back, is forgiveness, a practice of forgiveness. And there is such a thing as a forgiveness practice. One thing I'd like to stress with you, forgiveness is a great healer. When we forgive, when we are willing to forgive, another key word, that is a healer of both ourselves and our world. And remember when I say that forgiveness is a spiritual practice. Many of us get confused about forgiveness. We don't understand that forgiveness is in fact a spiritual practice. We look upon forgiveness very often as something culturally that we've been taught as children. It's good to forgive. Yes, it is good to forgive if you believe in forgiveness and if you use forgiveness, if you own forgiveness and the healing effect of forgiveness. If you understand that it is through forgiveness, whatever that is, of a negative energy, we have allowed for the possibility of a greater good. So that is the healing, if you will, and that is the aspect of the law of circulation that we're going to talk about this morning, or shall I say, we're going to co-create around this morning. Let's talk about, first off, I'd like you to just gently go back through your own life and start looking around for what it is you're still holding on to. Here's the other piece to forgiveness. Forgiveness is very simply, the Cliff Notes, letting go. Letting go. Very simple, except most difficult to do, unless you're willing to do the work. So a definition of forgiveness that I'm going to just give you is simply letting go. And why are we letting go? Why do we even talk about this? So that we can free up any negative energy for the flow of life to work in and through us at an even higher level than what we are presently operating. And so for those of you that may be saying right now, I don't think I have anything to forgive, and forgiveness is such a drag. Why do I have to go there today? It's a 4th of July holiday. Stop. Right there is all the red flags. Right there should be, hello, anybody home? Because you have now put all that energy into but, as opposed to learning a way that you can let go of the but, to attain a higher level of consciousness and awareness as you walk around through life. Is that not part of why we are here walking around through life? To be the very best we can be, to be the highest expression of the Christ that we can be. So let's talk a little bit about forgiveness and what forgiveness is and is not. Forgiveness is not forgetting. Some of you are already clicking into that. Oh, good, because I don't think I'm going to let this one go. Okay, I have a friend who likes to say, well, I'm going to forget and I'm going to forgive. And I say to her, friend, forgive comes first, then we forget. Okay. Yeah. There's a difference between the forgetting first and maybe the forgiveness. It's called denial. We forget. So, forgiveness is not forgetting. And forgiveness is not denying. And forgiveness is not excusing. And that's where I also want to make clear, many times we think that when we forgive someone, that it really isn't a good practice because we're really excusing what was and probably still is very bad behavior. Forgiveness is not about excusing poor behavior. If it's poor behavior then, it's poor behavior now. Forgiveness is about our letting go of holding on to an experience that has regret or judgment or guilt around it. It's about us letting go. Here's the other piece about forgiveness. It's unconditional. No, you say. Unconditional. Wait a second. I'm going to forgive as long as I know that so-and-so is going to be mindful of the fact I forgave them. It doesn't work like that. That's not what forgiveness is about. Forgiveness is simply letting go. You do not need another participant for forgiveness. And so often we do think we have to have the guy that done me wrong present in order for the forgiveness to work. No, forgiveness, again, I'll go back to the definition, is simply letting go. And it is something you do for yourself. I know at times in my life when I have forgiven someone, I did it with great pomp and circumstance. And then I proceeded to tell everyone I know how I had done this forgiveness work, and I was so pleased with myself. And then suddenly, another person shows up in my life that's very similar to the person I just forgave. What do you think that's about? Do you ever find yourself in life maybe seemingly repeating? I've been here before. I've done this before. I thought I did this. I thought I finished it. And the chances are, because you're seeing it again, you didn't forgive it. It's coming back to be healed. And maybe this time, you will truly forgive. So when you have those moments that keep smacking you in the face that you recognize the moment. It is a teacher. It is a messenger of truth. It is another opportunity to heal. It is another opportunity to truly let it go. Let it go. The process of forgiveness, I'm going to give you these areas, and it's very, I understand, left brain for some of you, that David talks about. But they're areas that are universal. These are areas you can look at in your own life where you maybe have some forgiveness work to do. The first one is your parents in your childhood. The second is your present family and your own children. The third is your mate or your ex-spouse. How about your own past behaviors and choices? Or your present job and life circumstances? Meaning. I'm not saying go back in any of these areas and wallow around. That's not what forgiveness is about either. It's a practical way of looking at certain areas in your life that maybe you truly are walking around, even unconsciously, holding resentment or judgment. And if you find these areas and you're able to bring them forward and release them, again, back to the law of circulation, greater possibilities move in. What we're doing here with this forgiveness work, and I get this from people a lot, oh, that forgiveness work, you know, it sounds a lot like therapy to me. You can call it what you want. I'm telling you it's a spiritual practice based on the law of circulation. What have we spoken about the law of circulation or any law of life? They are laws, they are principles, they are what we walk with. They are there, set for us to either align with or not. And when we don't align with those laws, we wonder why we have conflict, why we have ups and downs, why we have hiccups. Because we spend a lot of time analyzing, why did that happen to me? As opposed to, what did I bring to the situation that caused that or may have caused that? Now, what happens when we have discussions like this? Generally, people try and pick the absolute worst thing that's ever happened to them as proof that the law of circulation doesn't work, as proof that someone did me wrong, as proof that I really am not going to go there because I can't forgive. And here's what I say there. If you can't and you know that you can't, don't. Stop beating yourself up. I've seen people do that. I can't forgive that. That's unforgivable. Then fine, move on. Do you have another area in life you might be able to forgive in? That's why I suggested, and so does David, these specific areas of parents, of your own children, of your own lives. We're human, folks. There's areas of forgiveness and release that all of us are working on. And remember, if you can get to the release part of forgiveness, think of, if you want to look at it this way, the benefit or the payoff is a greater good, more possibilities, and uplifted consciousness. if you can get into letting go. So first you have to be aware you need to let go. Then you have to understand which areas of life you really might need to work on forgiveness, which I would encourage you to go to prayer around. You see, there is a practice here. There is a very practical way of releasing. And with the law of circulation as your umbrella over this practical method of releasing, that's where we get the practical Christian attitude that Unity and New Thought espouses. One of the big areas of forgiveness, of course, is self-love. And very often, we don't understand that letting go, forgiveness, self-love, and a greater abundance in life, a true abundance in life, are intertwined. One does not operate without the other. When we are unable to forgive, we have said, boom, I'm cutting off my flow. I'm cutting off the abundance. I'm staying right where I am in my place of unforgiveness, of not releasing. Therefore, we have automatically, right then and there, said, I'm cutting off a greater good, a greater flow, my true abundance. So self-love, which we all know, is absolutely paramount to loving anyone else. If you do not love yourself, then you cannot, by nature of the fact you're not loving yourself fully, give love in your fullness to someone else. So I encourage you, of all the areas to look at that I just named, look at yourself and see what needs releasing. See what needs forgiving. And one of the things, I don't want to miss this, one of the ways you can learn to love and respect yourself in a greater way is to choose consciously to do the things that make you feel good about yourself. To consciously do the things that make you feel good about yourself. Remember that last part, that make you feel good about yourself. Not stops at what makes you feel good. It's what makes you feel good about yourself, that self-esteem portion. What makes you feel good about yourself. All right, and then lastly, and I know I'm giving this to you, boom, 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 but forgiveness is so important and releasing is so important. And I just am anxious for you to have at least a way of doing it. And here's the way that David puts forth. It's a 4-step process, literally a 4-step process. First, you have to forgive to forgive. You have to become aware of what happened. What is it that I have to forgive? You have to discover that. Then you have to make a decision. Forgiveness begins when you decide that you no longer want to carry your negative feelings along with you. And why don't we want to carry negative feelings along with us? Because they don't serve us. They do not serve our greater good. They block our flow. They block the flow of eternal abundance. Can't stop it, but blocks it. So when you make the decision to forgive, to release, you have said, I am making a decision about this person or this situation because it's good for me. It no longer serves me. And then you must change your mind. And that is the step that he says is the real work of forgiveness. To release your feelings, you have to change how you think about the people and the matter. Try to see a higher perspective or perhaps understand the driving force behind the hurtful incident. Often others did not really act simply to hurt you. Rather, they were acting on their own negative feelings or misguided understanding. Try to see beyond the people and the situations involved to the hidden truth of the matter. And that is what we call seeing with a third eye. What is going on here? What is going on? What did I bring to the table? What did they bring to the table? What's behind it all? What's under it all? And then, my friends, what is the blessing in it all? And yes, I know there are some awful, hurtful, horrific situations where we can say, ain't no blessing there, don't try and tell me. Well, I am telling you, there is a blessing in all of that, if you can see it and feel it. And that's another part before we get to this last step. I encourage you to feel the situation. How do you feel? How does the other person feel? Work with the feelings, even though they may be painful. Work with them. They're teaching you. They're messengers. And then lastly, move on. You know, the kids always say, and I've said it myself, get over it. Well, it's different from getting over it to move on. Truly release. Let it go for all the right reasons, and then move on. You don't have to pat yourself on the back. You don't have to put a frame around it. You don't have to date it in your calendar. Just move on. Get past it. Let it go. It is in the letting go that you have said, the law of circulation is mine, and I am standing in that law. I believe in that truth. That is a life law for me. When I let go, I release. I know greater good is coming in because the law stands, and I believe the law. And moving on, pardon me, is part of understanding. When you release and you let go and you're able to move on, you're also able to say, wow, I have really spiritually grown. This is really spiritually another mile marker in my spiritual journey. And you know when you've done that. You know what you know, and you know. And so as you move forward this week, here are the questions for this week, and again, they're on the insert. Have I begun to forgive everyone and everything from my past? Did you hear those words? Everyone and everything. You see, that's how the work continues. Do I value being free of the past more than I value being right? Am I willing to forgive myself also? Am I practicing unconditional love and acceptance in all my relationships? And do I take time daily to release and resolve my negative, unloving feelings and attitudes? And so I'm going to close this out with prayer. This is an affirmative prayer for forgiveness. Just please take it in to the degree you are willing, and then let it go and move on. I know that God is the ultimate source of my good, and I see God's presence and action in my life daily through the law of circulation. I choose to use the law consciously. I choose to trust in the law. I celebrate the ever-increasing flow of spiritual energy through all my affairs. I am ready to open my life even wider to accept more of the good things in life. In the past, I may have unfairly judged myself to be undeserving, unlovable, or unworthy of abundance. I may have imagined myself to be powerless or somehow disconnected from the universal flow of good. I now realize that these beliefs simply are not true. I am worthy of God's rich abundance. I'm ready to release all judgments that I've placed upon others. I no longer need to hold on to the feelings from the past. I am ready to be free. And I do this. I trust in the law of circulation to bring me to my higher good. The law cannot let me down. The law will not let me down. I am opening up. I am getting out of the way. I am freeing myself from the past. I am forgiving and letting go. And I thank God for the rich abundance that floods every corner, aspect, and area of my life. And so it is, and so we let it be.